All right, so it is 10:10, so that's not too bad. So we are officially starting the meeting, call to order. John, we have a guest online. That's Dr. Rick Kuntz. Rick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you for the introduction. Would you like to know a little about me?
Yeah. How to spell your last name?
K-U-T-Z.
Got it. Thanks.
Well, just like one sentence resume, Rick.
Oh boy. I've been a house owner in Ocean Pines since 1978. And I also was a part of the group that did the initial study of the coastal bays in Delaware and Maryland that formed the Maryland Coastal Bays Program out of EPA. I'm a retired EPA scientist. Sorry, that's four sentences.
When you did that, starting that, was that in your position as at the EPA? Was that an EPA project?
It was a cooperative project between EPA, the states of Delaware and Maryland. We tried to interest Virginia, excuse me. And unfortunately, except for the lower county in Virginia, they weren't very interested. It was a group, the Assateague Coastal Trust, which at that time was the Committee to Save Assateague, was involved. Yes, it was an EPA project to demonstrate some of our monitoring research results.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rick. All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from May? Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Okay, recording of meeting is active. As we go through these subjects, I want to integrate, I want us to think about effective strategies to deal with these problems, to be a little bit more strategic in prioritizing or methods to implement them, timelines to address it, things like that. Just rather than, my point is, this committee is really good with coming up with ideas. But
not as good a solution.
Yeah, not as good as methods to solve those ideas or to implement them. Which is good, but we need to be a little bit more strategic in how we do this. And let me get a drink of water.
An oyster question for you.
Yeah.
We've had some super low tides, I guess, if you
Real
noticed.
low tides.
And my oyster float keeps catching the sun. And I go out there and realize, oh, dang, I was thinking above water and above water. How long they can make it.
They can stay right there. I didn't care.
Oh, okay.
You're okay.
Okay, public comments. Any comments? Any more inside info?
Weren't we supposed to give you money for the oyster?
Yes.
Here's
yes,
my $5. Sorry, it's one. Thank you for doing that. By the way.
And is there a little DNA or marker on it or anything to know which one is
Oh,
out?
the oyster cage.
We are sponsoring an oyster cage at the
Great.
Swim and Racket Club park. There's that little pond behind the gazebo, and
Nice.
Is ours the only one there?
yeah, it is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna.
Okay, so I'm gonna mark.
I'm gonna talk about that.
How many we have? Four. All
So
four of
we-
us paid.
Yeah. So all present. Yeah, it was $45. That turns out to be $5 a person. It was easy for the committee. Okay, all right, I don't, again, Patty's not here. I was gonna give her an opportunity to talk about some things, but, so I don't think there's anything else. We'll go into unfinished business. We were talking about the key sites. And so Patty, in her correspondence, noted that one is missing, so we're down to 5. The one that was missing is over by the firehouse. She tried to look around. I think Patricia, you tried to look around, couldn't find it. We have no idea what happened. It could have been run over by the lawnmowers and Public Works took it away, or,
Well, I know that I had put that back up one time and it had been damaged,
okay.
and I set it back up, and I think it was that, and then I noticed it was gone. And especially recently over there, the keys have been crazy.
Yeah,
They're really inundated that particular area. It's like
yeah.
the sign's gone, so now this is where they'll come and hang out for a while.
Well, as far as that, we suggested maybe taking one from the library and putting it over there because that appears to be a fairway for the geese. And so maybe not as much as the library. So when Patty gets back, we're gonna talk about that maybe, because that is a high use location for geese. And a lot of traffic.
Did anybody talk to the,
Public Works? No. I mean, I could send in an email. So, and then apparently so the one by the library, he thought it was damaged and down. Maybe it got put back up again.
I put it up a couple of times.
Yeah, well, Jeff saw it just down, it was completely disconnected and lying on the ground, but maybe somebody took care of it, who knows?
Right.
Because
I thought I saw it, maybe.
Brian thought he saw it back up again.
Yeah, well, I went and,
Well, when?
Huh?
When?
oh, within the month.
All right, well, I think other things have happened since then.
All right.
I mean, it's amazing, no signs, they're
Because
almost,
that one there, like the one hinge on one side was damaged.
yeah,
You could see it. And I had to push and shove, but I was able to get it so that it was closed and find a spot where the legs were more stable.
yeah. It's amazing how much torture the science has to go through.
Well, I guess, is this their first full summer season?
Maybe, well, yeah.
There's a lot more traffic,
Yeah.
summer season.
Um,
I don't know if they've been hit by cars or.
Yeah, cars are the guys who mow the yard, those lawnmower guys are all over the place now.
I did notice the one on Cathell on Parkside, or whatever you call the big field, Veterans, was dirty. They said side facing 589. I don't know. But people have been cleaning them with. But
this surfaces, when I had my period, you just need a damp rag
yeah, okay,
because
comes off.
that wears off really easy.
Okay,
Um,
magic eraser.
All right, so that brings us to who's going to be the next quarter team leader for the Suns, July through September. It's Patty's and it's next week.
What do I do?
You have to remanufacture every sign.
Hand paint it?
Yeah. Spend about $200 in hardware and things like that.
Just you give me a maps where they're supposed to be.
I have one. I can email it to you. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, just keep track, report any missing signs.
Right.
Yes.
Charge.
Just
Clean them.
It's about once a week. Do around, make sure they're up, and bring a damp rag with you. It's real easy just to wipe it down and take care of it. Usually it's not. It's just kind of like dried mud that gets on it. And that's all. And let me know if you have problems because we seem to be running into issues all the time with those things. Yeah, for 3 months. Thank you, Brian.
Mhm.
All right, Teacher Kid Day. Patricia was the team leader. How do you, what's your
I did,
reaction?
I don't think we got, it was sort of unclear the way that the tables were set up, because there's a registration table, then we were next, and then there were all the guys, demonstrating how to tie a line, flies, and then I guess there were a couple of other informational tables. So I don't know, I don't know that people understood why we were there, who we were, but we didn't bring a big ID sign, the big poster board to say who we were. And all we did was we gave out some coloring books and crayons and explained what the Bosel tube was all about. And a lot of people found that to be a really good idea. But again, it wasn't highly trafficked. It's only 2 hours, so it
Yeah.
wasn't really a day.
So a lot of kids there?
Yes, I think they had 45 kids. I recall the count.
Maybe, maybe a little bit more, but yeah, something like that.
I don't know. That's a lot, but what's the age? 'Cause we saw everything from like toddlers to, I would say, like 10, 12-year-olds, maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't like older teenagers, it's the young.
There was one guy that had the carload of 4 kids, 4 boys, and I thought that they almost looked like quadruplets. But he said, no, they're all a year apart. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was a crazy wagon, and all 4 of them were sitting.
So,
Well, I mean, we had the fish tube there. I think it was, a handful of people maybe became aware of that issue. I think actually probably what was good is we were able to talk to the Anglers Club
Mhm.
to say, hey, we're trying to get these things installed.
Get their buy-in on that, yeah.
And we also had an opportunity to talk to them about the shoreline stabilization, because they're interested in that. Of course, I had to tell them we're not part of that planning anymore. So we don't know what's actually happening around that pond, how the hired consultant who's working on the design now, what they're coming up with or what their parameters are for the shoreline. And they didn't know either. So they're kind of concerned that, there's going to be all this tall grass blocking their access to the pond. And now that's not, wasn't the intent, is to try to compromise that, but, we don't know.
I make a public comment. At the last board meeting, John, our general manager, made a comment on the restoration project. The last meeting was canceled due to COVID. So there hasn't been a meeting in a couple months. But he did make a point to say he has a very solid plan for the anglers in the restoration project. And what I took from that is that will include your fishing line disposal at that point. He's
Oh, that's good. He's going to build in, getting his tubes out there.
Great.
All right, that sounds good.
He said he had a very solid plan that he has talked to the Anglers Club and he has a plan to make sure that there be ample fishing space.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. And I guess there's been a hiatus of time there, and they're probably, so they haven't heard anything, but it's in the works is the point. Okay. So again, I was talking to Patricia, it's probably not worth it to go back out there again. I think that given the audience and the kind of people to go back out to during the July 20th fishing contest, I think that if we do that on a regular basis, once a year with the Anglers Club, I think that would probably be most productive. And then so it's really not just educating about having these fish tubes, collecting your gear. It's an opportunity for us to talk to the Anglers Club to see what they were doing. Okay, that makes sense. Green Street article is in. Patricia did it on plants. I guess look forward to that in the next newsletter.
I just concentrate on plants people use in landscaping and the new Maryland laws about invasives, class 1 and class 2 invasives. You can't, class 1s are totally banned and they can't, nobody can sell them, but class 2s at 2 plants, which would include something where I saw it at Home Depot, Scottish broom, plant with caution. They have to post signs at nurseries, so. Plant with caution, what does that mean? Is it gonna bite me or something? And I was like, no.
What is that, Scottish what?
Scottish broom. I had some of it, it died.
Well,
But yeah, these are a lot of common plants that people have been using in landscapes, like barberry, for instance, is now considered class 2 invasive. So, Jim was kind of going by the the Lower Shore Land Trust list, but which is more about things that are invading the forest. So I just,
I have bayberry in my area.
you don't have to dig it up, but just don't get any more.
Well, bayberry's coming back.
Oh, bayberry, okay, not what I was talking about. What was I trying to talk about? Barberry.
Okay.
It's red and it's got thorns in it. I think there's some planted in some of the ocean pines entrances. A lot of people will use it because it's got thorns in it. They'll use it as a foundation planting to keep people away from my house, Whatever. Eventually, I don't know when that thing is, usually comes out sometime in the summer, the actual newsletter or whatever, report,
Yeah.
the report they mail to us.
Probably be pretty soon. I mean, it's June. They time it because that article got in early June. So it's probably like within a week. You will be seeing that newsletter. Okay, pond nature signs. Patricia, what is your?
I'm just saying, until we get, answers on some of these other, what do we call them again? Charging documents. I think we should, it would be a big project. And there needs to be a meeting, I think, with Rec and Parks about how to do it best. How many signs are needed? So, can't get more goose signs. I don't think we're gonna get new nature signs.
Right. Which are pretty,
But
definitely.
the other simple things that can be done, like blazing the trail, so people know where it begins and ends, that could probably, if we're allowed to do that, we could probably do that ourselves.
Well, I think that really is Rec and Parks.
Okay.
When you're actually working on the trails themselves. I mean, I agree that because one of the, I think, more definite issues coming up later this year is the tree planting. And that will require, looking at the grant opportunities, making an application and planning that out, talking to a couple people with the state, DNR, to get that. I mean, that's a definite, I think, if everybody agrees with that, a strategy that would be a priority for our committee to really get some trees added to ocean pines.
Would it be helpful if we provided a list of desirable native trees that they could plant? I was noticing when we were at the fish day, the bald cypress, there's a few bald cypress around they're not right on the edge of the pond, but they're a lot near the path near the library side. And those are, interestingly enough, they're only native in Maryland in Worcester County. Other areas they don't consider. I think that was interesting because they're beautiful trees.
Well,
Deciduous conifers. So they have
Yeah.
cones, but they drop the needles.
Steve Lind at Colonial Village he's been for about a year now,
These would be great trees here.
trying to get trees over at Colonial Village in the so-called ghost forest. And yes, that's actually one of his top trees. But in his correspondence with the guy from DNR, he did get a list of trees that he recommended. So I had that email.
Okay.
Do you want me to send that to somebody?
So that was from the Maryland DNR. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we should maybe as a committee, like said, we recommend these trees if you're going to be choosing new trees instead of non-native cherry trees, for instance.
I think they're all through Pocomoke State Park.
Yes,
With kayaks,
yeah, but you know,
with the knees that come up and all that.
yes, that's only when they, they get it, on the banks of waterways.
Right, right.
And then they start developing those needs, which I think are pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought they were kayak around.
So that's why when I was seeing the ones that were in, I had to use my identifier because I said, oh, that's what they look like when they're not in water.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were around here at all.
So you're suggesting we make another like action statement with that tree list and
Charging,
everything?
well, we,
I wouldn't call it charging.
just a recommendation.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, I'll put together a document on that. I'll put that tree list in there to kind of warm John for that.
And I imagine some of the trees on that list are probably available from the state tree nursery program.
Well, yeah, most likely. I mean, if that guy, I think his name is Jarrett Hoskins. He probably had that in mind, what the state could provide.
Because supposedly those free trees are for urban areas. And somebody was saying that certain parts of Ocean Pines are considered, some kind of an urban area. I don't know what the actual designation is.
Urban underserved.
Underserved, yes.
I looked that up. Actually, I guess they update that every year, and it shifted in Ocean Pines, and it's just based on a formula on average income or whatever. It's completely mathematical on how they determine that. And I guess if you look at the whatever research on demographics they have on Ocean Pines, it shifted, which makes sense because it just by coincidence a portion of Ocean Pines qualifies when you wouldn't think any of Ocean Pines will qualify, but technically it does. So originally, when I looked at it last fall, it was kind of through the center. It was between Ocean Parkway and Route 90, that corridor, from the racetrack over to the shore. That does not include any of the parks we're talking about. Now, if you look at it, it's roughly South Ocean Pines. I think south of the Parkway over to the whole south portion of Ocean Pines. So again, not overlapping any of our parks. And again, the two parks we're talking about for Rick's information is right here in White Horse Park to help replace the trees that have been getting cut down to maintain our park quality. And then the so-called ghost forest at Colonial Village. It's at least 5 acres in size. It's between Mumford's Landing and the homes over there. It's an open area. They did fix the drainage there, and he's been noting that the trees are coming back to life because it's not flooded as much, the drainage. That's all you need is a drain pipe out of there, and it's fine.
And they put that in?
Yes, well, yeah, they did something. I think there was an existing pipe and they cleaned it out and that took care of the problem.
Does that section have a separate AOA?
It's part of Ocean Pines,
But
so
you know how some of these other sections have additional,
fees.
yeah.
I think they do, just like
They could-
Park does.
Yeah.
But it is Ocean Pines and, and I know, like I've commented, Steve has been having small conversations with John Viola about it over the last.
I make one of it. I walk that every day, that area.
Around Mumford, Sudley.
Yeah, and I guess it's been probably in the last 4 months. It used to have a really strong odor of decay because all the moisture. I haven't smelled it in at least 4 months.
Good.
So
Good. So it's working.
mitigation work.
And so that kudos to Mr. Lind that he brought that issue up and fixed it. And again, Public Works is the one that went over there and worked on that. Okay, so I mentioned the critical areas workshop again briefly. Coastal Bay and ACT is going to put together a workshop focusing on the application or the compliance with that law, probably in October. We definitely want to be there. It will be open to the public. It'll probably be at the library. But as I get, updates on that, I'll keep you informed. Okay, water quality monitoring, I mentioned, John Latham, said that they got the funding to purchase 10 water quality kits. That went into, Capacity Coastal Trust, so the kits they've already got them, or they're arriving very soon. And then that committee, when I met with them, 7 of those people would run 7, and then our committee, anybody on our committee could run 3 of those test kits, whoever wants to do that. And it doesn't have to be out in the middle of the water. It can be along the shoreline, along the bulkhead, or anything like that. So anyway, that is progressing forward. All right, the next subject is, we were talking about communication methods, and I really see this as a future project. We would put together some kind of best practice information that would eventually go into the HOA document for new residents. I see that as being very complicated, because to add something to the HOA documents is certainly a high level decision. So I guess I would prefer that we postpone working on that right now. Let's get these other things out of the way. Again, this is part of the strategy I was talking about. And then later on, maybe next year, start focusing in on that. And I think, again, the first step would be maybe drafting something and then having that presentation at the board of directors meeting and saying, this is our proposal. This is what we would like to do. That would probably be the early steps needed. And then getting the approvals and moving ahead with finalizing those best practice documents. Okay. So communication to info at Ocean Pines. Don had an issue about the mulch volcanoes around the trees in the common areas. The suggestion was just email info, just to comment on that. I don't know. Actually, it's possible that there was a reaction, because I'm thinking maybe they actually knocked down some mulch around the trees. I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, but didn't we hear that there was a new guy that was an arborist on staff?
But yes, there is.
He would certainly know that you don't pile the mulch up
Yeah.
next to the trunk. So maybe he stepped in.
Well,
Great.
we could hope. So, again, maybe Don would have more information. on what
I can tell you, they put all new mulch, they put that new sign up around the racket center. I don't know if you noticed it, it's right in front of the community gardens. They mulched that entire area. There's no volcanoes.
Yeah.
Okay. But was it with trees? That's trees.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed them on the parkway on the south side. I'll check that out, see if they've been fixed.
Excuse me, I'm just dealing with a really bad cold,
Sorry.
trying very hard.
And again, Patty sent in an email about the sediment erosion she observed on Magwood Creek. So,
The part that I thought was unnecessary, it's not navigable, but guess what? You're not paying for a water launch. It's like, okay,
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
She's not considered waterfront.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, they're directly on Banquet Creek.
I've been to her house. It's.
Yeah,
definitely waterfront.
you're like on a tributary off the creek,
Yeah,
right?
I'm waterfront.
So,
I pay waterfront.
really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe the person who responded was incorrect.
If I pay flags.
But Patty would know if they're paying a waterfront.
you have a bulkhead?
Oh, it's bulkhead. She does not have
Yes and
bulkhead.
no. I'm supposedly the last house in Ocean Pines that had a bulkhead. And then across from me, I don't have a bulkhead. I told them to stop. So half of my yard is bulkheaded and the other half is not. So,
Yeah, that's an honor, Brian. You're
It
the
is
only
an honor.
one. You're the last guy in line.
You know what? I don't think Patty's house has a bulkhead.
No, that's completely.
So maybe that's
Yeah.
why they don't
Yeah.
pay. for
Do you pay, you
bulkhead
said,
maintenance.
higher
Yeah.
assessment?
I have a bulkhead and in fact, they raised my bulkhead.
Did they really?
Yeah, they.
Well, not just mine, but the whole canal.
Everybody.
What, another foot or so?
3 feet, but it's only if you're towards the edge of the canal where it runs into the bay, the river.
Uh-huh.
And that's where they had to bring it up because the tides and the way the winds were coming through, they were just washing the yard out. The salt water was landing in there. So they raised the 3 foot up from
Right.
and so if, my lot, it's about half of the lot has a 3 foot section and then it's back to the normal all the way around in the canal.
Did you have to add soil to get up to that, or?
Huh?
Did you have to add soil? Okay.
All filled in behind it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, even what they installed, we're at the other end, we're at the end of the Golden Eye Canal. Not at the open water end, the other end. But we had to raise our pier because when they installed the bulkhead, our pier was then over a foot below, like you would have to jump down to.
Right, right.
And my husband said, no, we have, kids and people coming, somebody will get hurt. So we had workmen come in on our own and raise the pier. So they did increase the height all across, but
interesting.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that response was almost a standard one because I'm sure they get dozens of people asking about why do I have to pay a fee, blah, blah, blah. So that was an attempt to give them a standard response on the issue. But again, it got that concern got forwarded to Public Works and it's in their their office to see how they can deal with that. If we need to, we could follow up. I also suggest that we contact the Marine Activities Committee as part of the strategy to address it if it's indeed a serious concern we want to look at. Okay. Adopt a park. I didn't get a vote from everybody, but they were tending to add up to the swimming racket. And
Which was supposedly our
original one, right? On the one hand, I like that because I don't think we need to adopt, the worst location in Ocean Pines, which is that is not. It also coincides with the oyster cage. So wherever it gives us an opportunity to be there, maybe take care of the cage, cleaning it off as well as just kind of walking around. So do we have a consensus that is our park to adopt?
Sure.
Yep. Okay. You all right, John?
Good.
I'll send in the application.
Does that mean that maybe, the trail will actually get a sign so people know there's a trail there? Because that's the one thing. It says there's a trail on our map and there is, but there's no signage marking it, so.
Well, again, that would be the
Parks and Rec,
recommend, to think about upgrading their trails. I think once we, as far as the pond nature signs, was Patty working with you on that?
Yes, that was her idea originally.
Yeah.
And when we, started looking at that, and that's how, we brought the issues to the attention of Public Works. So they repaired
Yeah.
the bridge, maybe got rid of some fallen trees. I'm
Yeah.
not so sure. They kind of upgraded the little parking area that's on the Ocean Parkway side. And so they did that. But again, there's other issues with the trail kind of meandering and people don't know whether it's somebody's yard or on
Yeah.
the trail.
But again, that's not our
It's not our-
role. But I guess my point is, if Patty does, communicate with that committee, those issues could be brought up. And including maybe the swim and racket club trail.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we got the oyster cage. It's been, I'm not sure when I put that there. I think June 1st is maybe, it went right after I purchased it from Joe. Janowski, whatever his name is, but Janowski. I need to go over there soon and grab a hose and rinse that off because it probably needs to by now. And so again, as far as the park goes, I'll get the application in. Maybe the next time we meet, we can talk about how we'll implement that. I don't think we need to be there every month. I think maybe, just talk about what works. And we just say, let's go this day and walk around. It's a small park, so it's not like it's maybe 1 hour of time.
And, so just, I guess, the little beach that's part of the park. I guess they have kayak storage there. And, so keeping the beach. I mean, I've never seen the beach. There's trash cans there. There's a porta john. So I've never seen a lot of trash there.
But that's something to look out for, because that would be a tendency, because people like to camp out there and that would
Bring their dogs. Yeah.
And that would be an opportunity for people to leave stuff behind. So especially during the summer months, we would want to have more attention to that.
Now, does it wrap all the way around to the tennis courts?
Yes, that's where there's a trail that kind of semi starts by that gazebo, and then it just kind of follows the shoreline. And then it apparently crosses over to a parking area, crosses over the entrance to the parking area, and then just ends. So
Well, it comes back to like the
beach.
where the beach
Yeah.
dumpster. It's actually a nice little trail. You should
Okay.
go over
Then I just have been to part by the gazebo. I didn't realize it kept going.
It does.
there. Okay. There's no new business items right now. Is there any other discussion points?
That just really concerns us, but I just heard on the radio coming over here that Maryland and Virginia have a no crabbing law in the winter. And that was signed years ago, and Virginia just said, no, we've opened it up.
Oh, they're having a war about that.
Yeah, I thought, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
We're already down crabs.
Yeah, $100 a dozen's kind of
Yeah.
cheap. It's
But that's Virginia doing that. You're saying.
Yeah, but Maryland, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, a bunch of other organizations have already got on, like, hey, you signed it, you weren't gonna do this. So somebody getting pressure from somebody, but I don't really think there was much crabbing in the winter anyway. I thought they kind of,
that's when they go down in the mud.
yeah, so
So no,
let's start scraping them up. It can't be very fat.
no, and that's they're probably so muddy you don't want to eat.
Right, right.
And Rick, so this is your last chance. You have any wise words for us?
No wise words, but I wanted to thank all of you for the time and energy you spend on this. As one resident, longtime resident, I guess, I really appreciate your work. And my second thought is, frankly, I think working with the Maryland Coastal Bays and the Assateague Coastal Trust is a great effort that gives us a lot of expertise and knowledge. So I'm pleased that you do. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Yeah, definitely. I really look forward to working with those two groups much more now. I mean, we're trying to do things already, so there's a lot of opportunity. Okay, so any other issues? Then is there a motion to adjourn?
Just one quick,
Okay,
I was at the Ocean City Convention Center last week
okay.
for the turbine. And that was really an interesting event. And I was surprised the number of people in Ocean City are against having turbines. But right now, that's the way it looks like it's going to go. And this is the card and it talks to you about uh, approximate information about where the turbines are going to be and what they're going to do and what they're going to provide and how, people have to be careful and things. It was just very, and it was only supposed to be like 45 minutes. It was almost 2 hours. So I thought that was something.
Who sponsored the meeting? The
Huh?
energy company that wants to put them in or what?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes.
And nobody said, oh, yes, great, let's do it.
Well, there were people that were positive, but most of the people that were negative were all from Ocean City.
What is their big beef? The viewing, just the view of them?
Well,
They're
they're
11 miles.
afraid of people running into them. They're afraid
Nature.
of the fact what it's going to do to the coastal, how that's going to affect the shoreline, how it's going to affect the fish,
Right.
things like that. And they're really, it's just all kinds of things. And also how the people that live in that area, what effect it's going to have on their homes and things like that. Just in general,
Gotcha.
it's this thing has just got to be a mess. We've lived like without them for all these years. Let's continue that way.
Right.
And it was interesting to say the least. And then they have it. I just picked up Maryland Green Registry, one of these little cards there, and it talks about the amount of material recycled. Just in the Maryland Green is 724 million pounds of material recycled, 9.2 million miles of vehicle travel reduced, and 191 million gallons of water conserved, and 467 million kilowatts of electricity saved. So it's an interesting viewpoint on what's going on around here and how people are trying to improve it. And many people consider this a good thing, but there's also many people are afraid of it.
Can I make a comment? I went to the Andy Harris meeting in January on the wind turbines. I would have been at that one, but that was the night of our candidate forum. It was that Thursday night, and I've been up on many wind turbines. They're a great source of renewable power, in my opinion, on land.
Yes, I was gonna point out that I've driven through parts of California, like if you're going from
Right,
like
Palm Springs.
LA going up Route 5, and they have massive land-based ones. And I just don't think we have the open space in this area for them.
I was part of a team that developed the lubricants for the wind turbines that really saves frictional losses, so they're even more efficient. But the big concern with them offshore is they mask radar signatures,
Oh.
so it really messes with our defenses.
Uh,
And there's a whole bunch of other studies that really haven't been confirmed about how they attract, fish, and they can get them off course and affect that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But there's pros and cons on both sides. But-
Well, we need more passive energy sources, and I'm seeing more and more like fields being converted to solar,
I know.
power field. I mean, if there's open space like that can, to me, the last few years, it's always much windier than it used to be, especially at the beach yesterday.
Well, you should take a trip down on 113. There's a lot of open land down there. But that's,
If it's public lands or,
yeah, well, probably not much.
That West Virginia has a ton of
do the land-based wind
them. Yeah, in the
turbines.
mountains, if you drive.
Just,
Well, they have, this is a card that I got up, and the one comment here is the U.S. wind project is opposed by commercial and recreational fishermen.
of course, yeah. That's no surprise, but, yeah, I don't think it's, there's so much opposition, I guess. Congressman Harris is totally against it.
100% against it.
It's his district, so.
Too.
And I was at that meeting. Carozza was there. The mayor of Ocean City was there. He's 100% against it. Mary Beth was against it. Andy Harris is against it.
All of Ocean City, no.
Right.
But I mean, the wind is already doing things to the shoreline. We've had, if you go to any of the Ocean City beaches right now, there's a huge steep drop off before you get to Shore for the beach, but yeah, that changes all the time. So.
It says here, the turbines are 938 feet tall, 4 times the size of the tallest building in Ocean City.
You've been up in there?
I've been up in many a wind turbine in Texas. And yeah, there's no elevator. So you
Climb.
are climbing the steps. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ladder?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll pass on that.
Inside the column.
So does our committee, I mean, do we have don't really have a standing in this because they're going to be putting them in St. Martin's River or anything. So I'm saying,
That'd be a couple of turbines, Ocean Pines.
Will it cut my bill?
No, it will raise your.
oh, I wonder if does Choptank have an opinion on this? Or
Well, the issue is that, I
Rural
mean,
electric
it's a
company?
fact that while it produces more renewable energy, your energy costs will go up. Because it costs more to
To go up.
maintain that than fossil fuels.
Okay.
I have a friend who's the river keeper for the Patuxent. And he had all the numbers and he said it doesn't add up right. He said the cost is not, you don't get bang for your buck.
Yeah. But
But the ones on land don't have nearly as much maintenance, right? Because you're not driving out.
you just have it's a different cost factor in.
Well, maybe we can get some solar farms. Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Tricia, or, well, all right. Is that you to motion? Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
And then do I have a second? All right, then there's. All right. There we are.